or destroyed all of you, then what will you say?
Good afternoon. Welcome to Connections. And I'm your host, Pastor Kevin McGee of the Victory Temple Church of God in Christ. You are listening to us on IntellectualRadio.com. You can also listen to us on audio. Connections is a show designed to keep you connected to the Christian community. So sit back and relax as we get connected. And if you wish to become a Connection sponsor, please reach out to me at bishop1915@gmail.com, or you can simply inbox me on Facebook. Nature Sunshine. Have you set weight loss goals for 2019? Natural approach to weight loss. Do you want to see and feel changes immediately? Do you take medication for high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, fibromyalgia, cancer, arthritis, or any other condition in your body? Do you have poor circulation, frequent colds, flu, or chronic fatigue? Or perhaps you just want to maintain a healthy body? Give Nature Sunshine a try. They have many products and plans that will assist you in losing weight or maintaining and improving your health the natural way. You can visit them at www.victoriousliving.mynsp.com, or you can contact them at 708-302-5655. The Bedrock Movement affirms safety, comfort, dignity, awareness, and empowerment for Chicagoland street homeless. For any internship needs for school, community service that are mandated from the court, or you just want to volunteer assisting the street homeless, please call John Netherly at 773-567-5110. And today in the studio, we have this wonderful woman of God who's here, and we're going to talk about this book that she has been blessed to author. And she goes by the name of Darlene Williams, and we thank God for her taking time out of her busy schedule to be on our show. God bless you.
God bless you, Pastor. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for allowing to be on the show, because I've I saw that you had a book signing on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, she needs to be a future guest. And so I really had this going on in my mind, just haven't had a chance to pull it together. But I'm thankful that you're able to come on the show and let us know about God's prodigal daughter, which is sort of a twist because we're used to hearing about the prodigal son. So we're interested in having some background on the prodigal daughter. Amen. And so we just thank God for you being here with us. But first, let's get into who you are. Your background, what led you to this point. Tell us who Darlene Williams is.
Okay. Darlene Williams. I'm a single mother of 5. I have 4 grandchildren. I'm saved. What led me to write this book because I went through a lot in my life. I went through abuse, incest in the family, witchcraft, being pernicious, being saved, and backsliding. So that's why I put God's prodigal daughter because, the son, he was with his father, then he left. So God gave me God's prodigal daughter to name it because it was one of his prodigal daughters.
Okay, and so basically, the inspiration for this book was your own life.
Yes, this book is about my life.
Okay,
yes,
and it's interesting because a lot of people, when we have so much going on in our life and our background, we're sort of sheltered, about that. We don't want to be as transparent because we think that maybe people will see me differently if they did not know. But a lot of people don't realize that telling your story is a part of your healing. And many times you tell this, you are healed because you told your story, or because you have healed, you're able to tell your story. And so we're just so glad that you have a story to tell. And everyone has a story to tell, but somebody might be going through similar situations and they're at the point of, getting, taking their lives, going crazy. But this book can also be a ministry tool to let them know that because you made it, they can make it as well. How long have you been writing?
Well, I started this book 15 years ago, and I wrote 2 pages. So the rest of my book, the story was, I guess, being still told. So I actually end up starting back up with the 3rd page to the rest of the book on last year. So it actually took me 10 years to really write it. But when I sat down and write it, it took me 6, 7 months. And the reason for that, like you said, I was afraid. God was dealing me to write my book, but I was thinking like, oh, well, people might see my book and they might tell my story. I didn't really want to tell my story, be transparent. And, God was dealing with me with that. And when I finally got healed, like you say, I was able to tell my story because I wanted to tell my story because so many times people go through stuff and they're afraid to tell someone, or if no one is testifying about what you going through. That's how I was when I was in church. I was going through some things. I was struggling with things, but nobody was testifying about it. So I was like, well, maybe something wrong with me. Is I'm the only one going through this? So I would find myself sheltered. So when I decided to tell my story, I wanted others to be free because I found out as I talked to people, they was going through the same thing I was going through, or still is. And so many people was ashamed to tell about it. So I want to tell my story to help others so they can know that in spite of their past and what they've been through, they can be free
Okay.
and they're not alone.
And it's very interesting because I've known people who've gone through some of the things that you've gone through, and many of them have gone the same route. They put it in writing. They wanted to let people know that if you're going through this, it's not the end.
Exactly.
And to also that it's okay to reach out for help, because a lot of time when you find yourself in a situation, you don't know who to go to for help. You feel like you're in a box, and who's going to believe me, or are they going to blame me? And so the enemy will make you feel like you're worth nothing. And you're actually one of God's most valuable creations. And so we give kudos to you. And what we want to do is, allow you to go through a few passages in the book that help you, that you wrote about. And listen, those of you that's watching by way of YouTube Live and Facebook Live, you can dial in at 708-223-8953. Any comments, any questions that you have for Darlene, you can call in, or you can put your comments in the comment field, and we will, try to answer those questions. Looks like I'm not sure if my Facebook Live is up and running, so, but we'll address that in a minute. But we just want to take time out to hear some of the passages that Darlene has earmarked for your listening pleasure.
Okay, one part I want to talk about when I was in the church and I had backslid. And I noticed that a lot of people tend to treat me different. And I'm gonna read about that part. It's called neglect strikes. I became so depressed, I told my church I was pregnant. A lot of people was disappointed. I felt so bad. How was it that I was just bringing in souls to Christ, praying for them, and was just about to be ordained as an evangelist by my pastor? Now I'm here pregnant and not even married. The hurting part was that a lot of people from the churches started treating me very differently. Those who always hugged or greeted me turned cold towards me. Some didn't even speak anymore. I was so hurt and wanted to die. Little did they know I hated myself for what I had done. I had a best friend who also kind of distanced herself from me. Even though I smiled, I was so torn on the inside. The low self-esteem I had growing up had resurfaced. So one thing about that, we have to show people love, like when they make mistakes, because they already be beating themselves up already. So when it's like nobody's showing love and people like happen to look down on you, they already dealing with low self-esteem. So it brings it surfaces, and then it calls them to go back into the world. And in one part of my book, I was pregnant. So I tried, well, I'm not going to say I tried, I had an abortion. I had an abortion. And before was going to get the abortion, I had a friend that called me and she had told me, was I going to get the abortion? I'm like, how does she know? Because I ain't tell nobody. And she lived all the way in Indiana. And I was like, yeah, did God tell you that? And she was saying, yeah, God said, you better not have abortion. And she was telling me a lot of stuff, but in my mind, it was going in one ear after the other, because I was like, okay, I had abortion before when I was in the world. God forgave me, so He gonna forgive me for this. And the main reason why I wanted to have abortion was because I felt like if I had the abortion, yes, people gonna talk, but once the baby gone, the talk gonna go down. But if I have the baby, it's gonna constantly be looked at and talked about. So I went to get the abortion anyway. Came home, was bleeding real heavy, cramping real bad. I had told a friend that what I had did, and I was cramping real bad. And she was like, "Well, you shouldn't be cramping like that and bleeding like that. You need to probably go to the doctor." So when I went to the hospital and told them what I did, they rushed me in the hospital. They put me on the table and they gave me an ultrasound. And they was like, "Oh, the sac is holding on." I'm like, "What sac holding on?" They was like, "The sac of the baby." I'm like, "Wait a minute, what? No sac should be holding on." So they was like, everything was okay, and I was crying and I was mad at God because I was like, "God, why did you let me have this baby?" I'm like, you let what's her name when she had abortion, why you ain't let me have it? So um I went home. They kept me all that day, and I went home the next day. The next day I went home, my friend called again, and she was like, started laughing like, "Did you went and did it anyway?" I was like, "Yeah, how you know?" And I started crying. She like, "God said the baby's not going nowhere, and I will not have to want for my baby." And that's my baby right there, the miracle baby. And her birthday is on Christmas, so that was just at all with me, just let me know that God was still with me, even though what I went through. And I'm read something too in the back. And the root, it all started from a root from low self-esteem when I was young, because I grew up in foster home, and that doesn't mean you have to have low self-esteem because you grew up in foster home. But I never would show love. So when you never show love, you look for a void to fill that void. And I began to get promiscuous and was looking for guys, friends. So I'm going to read one part of the book that I had put. Um, uh, when I was 9 years old, I committed suicide. Um, okay, I got really depressed about that until, okay, I'm sorry. For example, my older cousin, who I would call T, used to beat me for no reason at all. Sometimes, once she thought I had done something to her son. Boy, did she beat me that day. And Aunt Medea just looked while doing nothing at all about her beating me. I got really depressed about that until I decided to take my own life. I went to the bathroom, took 2 big bottles of pills and some NyQuil that I had found in the medicine cabinet. I tried to hide the empty bottles under the sink cabinet. I started feeling sleepy, so I went to my room and laid down. I didn't know how my sister and brother knew what I did, but they went to Aunt Medea and told on me. The next thing I knew, Aunt Medea came out of her room yelling and saying she was going to teach me how to kill myself since I wanted to take my life. As a result, instead of taking me to the hospital for all the pills and medicine that I had taken, she took us to our grandmother's house. Now this puzzled me because I couldn't figure out why she didn't take me to the hospital. I don't know why we even went to my grandma's house since I was afraid of my grandma. She seemed like she was possessed with demons. Yes, I said possessed with demons. In spite of what you may think, demons are very real. She always had this really scary look on her face that frightened me. But once we got there, I was so sleepy until I could not even keep my eyes open. I kept falling asleep. I thank God every time I think about this. I should be dead. I didn't go to the hospital to get my stomach pumped of the pills and NyQuil that I took, but God spared my life. I didn't wake up until the next morning, but I was at home. Newsflash. In spite of the plans of Satan, God had bigger plans for my life. Guess what, Satan? You lost again. After that day, I felt really bad, but I never told anyone about that incident. I always kept my true feelings inside. So that was another thing. I always used to keep my feelings inside. So even when I had got saved, uh it was still a root. So I always tell people when I witness, you can have a tree and you could cut down a tree and you won't see the tree. But you give a couple of years, you see the stub, and guess what? It's growing back up. You cut it back down, you don't see it no more. Give a couple of years, it's growing back up. And the reason for that, because you didn't pull it from the root. And you have to really pull it, because I learned, like, my auntie used to have a garden, and we used to pull the plants and stuff. And we had to like really pull it hard, because sometimes the roots like grow real deep. So even though I had got saved, I never got healing for my low self-esteem and things that I went through, like molestation and incest and just different things. My father not being in my life, because I never dealt with the root. So that caused me to backslide, because I never dealt with it.
That what you have read is a powerful read, um, because what's happening is that this is prevalent in the church more so than what we want to admit.
Mhm.
We have people, male and female, that are going through low self-esteem issues, and I tell people this. I said, when you want to know what's going on with our young people of today, a lot of our young ladies are filled with low self-esteem. That's why they find themselves into dead end relationship after dead end relationship, someone's punching bag or what have you, either or verbally being abused, emotionally being abused, feeling that they're worthless because of um, this low self esteem. So that's what's going on with a lot of the young ladies. It goes on with the young men too, but more so a lot of the young ladies. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you have a lot of young men that have a lot of anger in them.
Mm-hmm.
They can't understand why. Their environment, their home situation, things that are just going on in general in their lives. I used to be a teacher, and I would ask the young men, I said, one of the young men used to come to school saying, I'm just mad. I'm like, why are you mad? He said, I don't know. I just woke up mad. I just don't know why I'm mad. I'm just angry. I'm just angry. And that's because that's how the enemy is attacking our youth,
Mm-hmm.
through low self esteem and anger. I never seen so many kids having to have therapy for anger management issues at the ages of 10, 11, 12, and through their teenage years. But that is something that is very common in the church in today's time, and that has to be addressed. And we don't address it. Uh, Molestation, incest, all of that is common, has always been common. It's common in every walk of life. It's not just in the churches, outside the church. It's not in the poor families and the rich families. It's not just in the white families and the black families. Those are epidemics that have always been there, but just in every society, we always want to sweep it under the rug. If it's in the rich family, we want to sweep it under the rug because Uncle Jeffrey, we dare not say that Uncle Jeffrey touched Sally, because that would bring a scandal upon the family. And if it's in a black family, we dare not say that Junebug touched, LaQuisha. I'm not being stereotypical with the names. I'm just trying to help you identify people. Because, hey, we don't do that, you know, and even the thoughts of suicide. Now, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be honest with you, and those of you that's watching, I'm telling the truth. There was a time when our people didn't even think about killing ourselves. Whenever we heard of suicide, it was always people of other ethnicity, other persuasions. But now, in the African American community, so many of our people suicide because of the cares of this life. And so, what you have gone through is just symbolic of what the world is going through right now. But you've found a way to deal with it, and that is having a God on your side. And so, you talked about the backsliding, but now, what made you the prodigal? What brought you back?
Love what brought me back. And I tell everyone, um, you can't beat up people when they make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. And yes, it may be terrible, but I always, when I encourage people and witness, I always let them know everybody did something. So yours might be big, mine might be little. But if you constantly beat up on someone and talk down on them, that's what made me leave the church. But what brought me back was love. I had a godmom that, yes, she knew I was sinning. Yes, she knew I was, doing a lot of stuff, but she kept coming to visit me. She kept bringing me love. And I had my leaders, I went, when I got to their church, they showed me love. Yes, they knew I was getting out, still coming out the bed, still drinking, but I would press myself to church because I was like, I know I needed God. I was tired of living the way I was living, but it was like it was a stronghold. I just couldn't break free. But what brought me back to God, I tell anybody, is love. It took the love of God and it took the love of others to bring me back.
Love is the most powerful force in the world, and the Bible tells us that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whomsoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. If love could go to the cross to die for the sins of people, love is strong enough to bring you back from any situation, you out of any condition that you've ever found yourself in. All right, what we're going to do is, Wanda, we're going to take a quick break. Um, because I'm gonna when I come back, we're gonna switch into another vein. But we want you to just hold on, everybody. We'll be right back with connections on IntellectualRadio.com.
What will you say, yeah, when this glory comes down in the cloud to rest in the room? And what will you say, yeah, when the atmosphere shifts and the yokes are destroyed off of you? And what will you say, my God, I will, when the pain suddenly leaves and now you can live in love again? And what will you say when all your tears turn into joy and all your doubts become immense? And everybody say, I'm so glad you came to rescue me.
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 Oh Lord, I'm so glad you came to rescue me.
I'm so glad you came to rescue me.
I'm so glad you came to rescue me.
I'm so glad.
And what will you say when the lame begins to walk? All because you chose to lay your hand. And what will you say, yeah, when the blind begins to see and the deaf begins to hear again? Come on.
Welcome back to Connections. We're here with Darlene Williams, and we're talking about her book, God's Prodigal Daughter. I want to say this before I get back into the interview. Chicago lost another gospel musician this week, a friend and a brother who is one of the most prolific songwriters in Chicago, has written for many people, Marlo Cribbs, who passed away on this week. So we're praying for his family, and we're still praying for the family of Bishop Carlos Moody, who went home to be with the Lord, and they funeralized him on last week. Hey, all right, so God bless Stephen Hoover, who's watching us. We're getting back to our interview with Darlene Williams and this book, God's Prodigal Daughter. And she talked about and was transparent about the different things that she's gone through in her life, with molestation, with incest, with attempting to commit suicide, backsliding from the church. But we're going to give her a chance to talk about what brought her back. She said love brought her back, but she's going to read a passage that detailed her coming back to God. All right.
All right. The title of the page that I'm writing is called Forever Changed. Okay. I began to drink and smoke weed. I started dating other guys thinking that would get Marcus's attention. It did not get his attention for a little while, but he was still the same. God constantly reached out to me. He was calling me back to him, but I ignored it. Hey, I got to the point that I got tired of being cheated on, tired of the physical and emotional abuse. Now I was ready to leave. I believe, but God let me stay for a minute. I believe God let me stay so that I would see that this time, once I leave or he lets me go, I won't ever go back. I began visiting. I left my church because I felt dead on the inside. I needed help to be free from the fornication, low self-esteem, etc. I began to visit New Vision of Victory International Ministry. Each time I came, I felt the love that I needed. I was so broken up on the inside until I didn't want to feel the pain I felt anymore on the inside. On Sundays, I made myself go to church. Okay. I felt like the prodigal son who lost everything, material things, spiritual things, my children, my self-esteem, my confidence, my job, my finances, etc. But like the prodigal son, I came to my mind. I remember my father, God, was a king. So I didn't have to settle for less. I didn't have to eat from the pig's bin anymore. since my daddy owned the whole world. So I decided to go back to my father's house. I didn't care anymore about not being used by God. I just wanted him to love me again and to take my pain away. God took me back with open arms. He didn't judge me like others did. He led me to my leaders at New Vision of Victory who truly loved me. They didn't judge me at all. They gave me the love that was needed as parents, a love I never experienced from my parents. They also never gave up on me. True transformation. Well, as of today, I have been celibate for 5 years. I'm no longer fornicating, praise God. The stronghold that was between me and my daughter's father is broken. Also, I'm in school now to become a social worker, and I will soon enroll in real estate school to receive my real estate license. I am now reaching out to others to let them know they can make it, regardless to what all the devil throws at them in life. And in spite of how many times you mess up, just know that you have a father who loves you dearly. He is waiting with open arms like he was for me. God has a robe, a signet ring, and a great feast waiting on your return to him. Just like this prodigal daughter was able to come back, so can you. Trials may come, children may even be out of control, bills due, etc. Just remember your Father God loves you dearly.
Amen, amen, amen. And I echo those sentiments that God is right there waiting with open arms to receive you back. And people say, well, where is he waiting? He's waiting in the same place that you left him. All right. God bless Pastor Darius Brooks that's watching. All right. So we thank God for that read and to know that the end of the story lets you know it was worth it all. I tell people, we can't really be upset when we're reading a book. We read it by chapters. Every now and then when you get a good book and you see that the character, the hero or the heroine is going through so much, I don't know about you, but me, I just want to know if they make it out. So a lot of times I'll just go to the back of the book to see how it ends. And when I see that my character wins, then it helps me to enjoy the book even more. Someone say, but that just spoils it for you. No, it doesn't spoil it for me. When I'm watching movies, DVDs or what have you, I'm the one that goes on the internet to read how it ends. Why are you over there laughing? I want to know how it is first. And then I can go back. And then my kids are watching. I was like, oh, well, this is going to happen. They were like, what? They say, you see this before? No, I'm just. But that's how it is. So I tell people, if on this journey of life, you find yourself going through wondering, Lord, is it really worth walking this journey? Is it really worth going on this path? I tell people just go to the back of the book, see how we end, and then you can go back and you can enjoy the rest of the story. All right. So you read us the end of the book so we can enjoy the read.
Yes.
All right. So, hey, read your home and God bless you. So now, how has the feedback been? How the feedback you receive from those who know you, those who read the book, how has that feedback been given? How has the book been received?
It's been really good. At first, I was a little nervous when it came out because, like, on my book signing, and one of the questions somebody asked me, how would you feel once people read the book and they look at you different? So, and I was like, well, I really don't care because I'm free. And I said my goal was I wanted others to be free from my testimony. And I got a lot of feedback. People was tagging me, inboxing me, calling me, and letting me know the book was like really, really good. A lot of them said they couldn't put the book down. It was so interesting. But what really touched me was a lot of them was saying that they cried. They got healing from things that they've been through. A lot of them had said they blocked it out, and by just reading my book, it brought healing to them. And that was my goal. That's what my desire was for others to be healed from my book. So I really had good feedback.
Okay. Now I want to back up a little bit. I want you to walk me through the process.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are. You've gone through all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and the Lord lays it on your heart to write a book. What was the first thought that came across your mind when the Lord said, write a book and tell your story?
I didn't want to do it at first. I was like, God, I don't want to tell everybody my story. They gonna look at me, and I'm like, why I gotta tell my story? And it was like God was telling me, why not? And I was like struggling because it was like some parts of the book I didn't want to write. So that's why sometimes it took a minute to write. I'm like, I don't want to put that down because then they're gonna
Took
look
you
at me.
15 years, right?
Yeah. So I didn't want to do it at first when God was dealing with me. I struggled with that. And till I got to the point where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm free. When I got to the point where I got free. So when you free, it don't matter what nobody say. It don't matter if somebody, you're going to have people talk good. You're going to have people talk bad. But what is your goal in writing a book? And that was my goal. So once I got free and delivered, free from people, that's what helped me, being free from people. Because when you're not free from people, you worry about what people going to say. And God might tell you to do stuff, but if you're not free from people, you're not going to do what God tell you to do, regardless. So that's what got me free, being free from people.
And I often wonder what turns us into cowards? Because before we got saved, when we were doing our own thing, I don't care what anybody said, we're going to do what we're going to do.
And that's true.
And if you say the wrong thing, we're going to tell you something. But then we get over here on the Lord's side, and that same courageous, bold feature in our life is gone. And now we're worried about what they're going to say. You never cared about what folks said before, but now we care about how people see us and how they're going to view us. And so the reason I asked that question, because you said you got a lot of positive feedback from the book. Did you get any negative feedback?
I had one negative feedback. Well, actually, I had 3.
Okay.
Two was from a family.
Oh, you put your laundry out there for people to read and know about?
Yeah, and I had an uncle that I think he was kind of mad because he stopped talking to me, and he was like, you put a lot of stuff in there, and I said, well, I didn't put the names because I did not put the names, and he was like, but he knew that even though I didn't put the names, he knew, and it brought a lot of stuff back, brought him back to memory lane. But I was like, well, this is my story. I'm like, I wanted to tell my story. This is my story, and he didn't talk to me anymore. And he's a pastor, and I had a cousin, like I had like bad feedback with that, and that's it. And it was one more person. They was just talking about what I had. It was like they was trying to feel like what I had put, and they was like, shouldn't I be ashamed of what I put, and I shouldn't let others read it because what I put, they're gonna look at me different. I'm like, well, I don't care. This is my story, and regardless if they read it or not, this still what I've been through, and I'm free from it. So it's my past, and I was letting them know, like, people going through this now, even in the churches, and that's why they don't get free, because everybody want to put you down when somebody talking. Everybody afraid to talk. So yeah.
See, the thing is, they're not upset about what you put in the book. They're upset about how it's going to reflect on them.
Yeah.
In the family, because now you got everybody knowing that our family kind of messed up a little bit with dysfunctional. Yeah, you know how it is. You're telling the family secrets.
Yeah.
You're supposed to die with that. Deal with it. Lord bless you. You ain't got to tell nobody. But see, that's the thing. When we receive whatever blessing we receive from God, we're to share that. Paul says he did this in relation to communion, but he said, for I have received of the Lord that which also I give unto you. All right. So if and you couldn't be completely healed until you shared your testimony.
Right.
And so they're not looking at that. They're just looking at that folks reading this book, they're gonna be wondering, I wonder who molested her.
Right.
Who did it? Yeah, was it Kare? Was it Junebug?
Right.
That's how it is. So you can't let negativity from others stop you from your growth. You will always have naysayers. You will always have people that say you shouldn't have done this. But when you get God's approval, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. All right. So you said that you wanted this book to be a help to others.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you find are the biggest purchasers, or the people that really grabbed hold? I'm assuming probably the females have really grabbed the book the most, right?
But you know what? The females have, but I have guys that have been reading it. Like I talk to them and tell them about my story, and they like, oh, okay, I want to read it. So it's mostly women's, but I have guys have read it as well, because I tell everyone.
And the reason I ask that, because a lot of men are just not going to put themselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men have gone through being abused, being molested, incest in the family, um, committing suicide. But see, for a man, we're conditioned that we should be strong and push through anything, but
Mhm.
we're jacked up on the inside. And so that's also a part of the reason why we have that anger, because there's no outlet. We can't release it. You know, we're not going to cry like the women cry. We're not going to let anyone see that we're weak,
Mhm.
that we have a weak area. I've been abused. I was abused by my mom, by my dad. I was molested, because the first thing that comes to mind when a man says that he's been molested is, are you gay now?
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Mhm.
So, but so they need men need help in these areas as well. And so this book will serve to help the men as
Mhm.
well as the women. And I tell any man out there, if you're going through, get some help. You need help, because if you don't receive the help that you need, it's going to fester and you're going to explode like a volcano that have been inactive. And once that inactive volcano explodes, it destroys everything. You'll never be able to have a productive relationship until you are healed. You'll never be able to have an effective family life until you're able to heal. And so these projects, such as what Darlene has and others out there, it helps to heal. We've had authors to come in, talk about deliverance from homosexuality. Now, in this day and time, you talk about delivering from homosexuality, it's like you're bashing folks. Now, that's what he calls it. That's what his book is
Mhm.
about. But deliverance from alcohol abuse and drug abuse. So uh, these are all not self-help books. These are God help books.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I was gonna say too. I noticed because I talk to men and women, so I love reaching out. I just have a heart for souls. But when I talk to a lot of guys, I notice that the ones who have been molested, they have a problem with lust. So what they do is, if especially if they got molested by a guy, they tend to have sex with a lot of girls because it's like it makes them feel like to prove to themselves that they're not gay because they got molested, and probably in their mind they feel like they're gay, but they just because you got molested don't mean you're gonna be gay. And a lot of them just tend to have sex with a lot of girls. So I talk to them, let them know that the reason, because a lot of, like, I talk to people, like their husband, or guys, they was like they promiscuous, and I said that's because they was molested. So they, and like you said, if they don't get healed, that's the root of it. So that's why sometimes, yes, they don't want to do it, but it's that they have to prove their manhood.
Hmm.
And then a lot of times too, I talk to people who have struggling with the spirit of homosexuality. The root of that is a rejection. It's just a rejection spirit. And if you could they just need love. They rejected by their father, their mother, and a lot of times, not saying all of them, but a lot of times that's what the root comes from.
Amen. All right. So what's next for you? I know there
Um,
got to be another book in the works, right?
part two. Part two. I have three books that God told me to write. Part two to this, I'm working on it now. It's called Stolen Identity.
Okay.
Um, I have two more books: A Mother's Tears and The Woman Behind the Mask. Because we all know a person could look all together, but behind it's a mask. And that go for a man and woman, but God just gave me the name, The Woman Behind the
I
Mask.
like that name. You know what? Because I'm gonna digress a little bit, because I put a post out on Facebook, and I want y'all to help me. Since I got two women right here in the studio, I got Wanda over there, and I got Darlene right here, and I'm just gonna digress because the woman behind the mask. Why is it? First of all, it took me a long time to understand what they mean by, oh, her face is beat. I'm like, who beat her? you know,
Right,
So anyway,
right.
so I put this question. I said, if the only thing that the brother sees is the made up face, and a lot of time now, the made up face also means that you're like about 5 shades lighter than what you really are.
Mhm.
At what point does he see the face not made up so he knows what he's really getting? See, when do they see the woman behind the makeup? See, because here he is thinking he's getting ready to propose and marry this person, and then now all of a sudden you take the face off, You're like, oh, I don't even know you.
It's a mask.
So help me. Come on now. You and Moana just shaking her head. She ain't gonna help
I
you with
feel
that.
like they probably should just pray and let God seek them because a lot of times, like you said, they have a mask on, and I feel like if God sent them to that woman, then evidently they have something that will help complete that woman.
So in other words, man, don't worry about the makeup. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what she looks like underneath the makeup for real. Nah, we gonna worry about it. If I'm gonna marry you, I want to know what I'm looking at every morning. Just like the hair. How much is in your real hair? I want to know before you get so far. But now those are like ancient Chinese secret. They kill you if I tell you, I have to kill you. So
I guess if y'all get comfortable, they'll let you all see the real
oh
deal.
no
I don't
no.
know.
One brother didn't get comfortable after he got married. He found out that
Oh,
wow, you're really that dark.
oh man.
Anyway, that's a whole nother story. All right, so woo. But we thank God. So how can people purchase the book?
They can go on my website, www.purefaithministry.com, or they can also go to amazon.com. I'm also, where you got the book? I'm also on Amazon, and I'm also on Barnes and Noble.
Okay, all right, and the book sells for how much?
$20. But online it's 25 because that's for shipping and handling. And if you do it on my website, you get an autograph.
All right, all right. So look, y'all, spend the $20. Y'all go, y'all get a temporary hair job done for $50 and $60. Y'all do, spend the $20. Get the book. Go online, $25. That's nothing. Cause all y'all got money out there today, this day and time. So unless you part of the government shutdown, y'all ain't got no money. But y'all getting ready to get a check now. Retroactive pay. Somebody say retroactive pay. Amen. So, but we thank God and we pray that many more books are sold. How you have a lot of people at your book signing?
I did, and a lot of people that couldn't make it wanted to come. So I was thinking about having another book signing because my daughter wrote a book too. So I'm writing part two in her book. So I would say in March, the end of March, book two should be ready. It should be.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 10.
And she wrote a book.
Bullying is for losers. She was bullied before.
Oh, I'm going to bring her on the show then. Because I really want to do a feature talking about Power Kids.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what we can do. All right. So, and how can give a shout out to your church home?
I want to give a shout out to New Vision of Victory, the best leaders, Apostle Cunningham, Mother Deidre Cunningham. Thank you all for loving me and helping me push me to my purpose and pushing me to write my book.
All right, all right. And listen, again, a shout out to our sponsors, Nature Sunshine. If you want to maintain and improve your health the natural way, all natural herbal supplements, nothing artificial, no medicine. You institute this into your daily routine and you will see changes immediately. You can reach out to them at 708-302-5655. And if you want to learn how to be a part of working with the Bedrock Movement, which is the organization that deals with the street homeless and help them and to bring awareness to the homeless and the plight of the homeless, you can reach out to John Netherly. And we just thank God. Listen, feel free to visit Victory Temple Church of God in Christ every Sunday morning. We roll early, y'all, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. We're located at 2000 West Roosevelt Road in Broadview, Illinois, inside of the Community Presbyterian Church building. Tomorrow's message is God's plan. Not Drake's plan, but God's plan. All right. So if you want to know what God's plan is, you got to tune in. Amen. You have to stop by and you can be. Listen, on the second Sunday in February the 10th, Victory Temple will be celebrating 4 years as a church ministry. Amen. Feel free to come by 4 o'clock on February the 10th at 2000 West Roosevelt Road. Our speaker will be Apostle Sean Johnson of the Pentecostal Church of Holiness. So we would love to have you there. And the theme of our anniversary is the faith factor. Not the fear factor, but the faith factor. God bless each and every one of you. And we thank you again, Darlene, for coming on.
Thank you so much.
And again, all of you that if they want to just email you, or how can they reach you?
They can reach me at williamsling70@gmail.com.
That's williamsdarlene70 at gmail.com. All right, so you got her information, how to get the book, pay the money, get the book. Don't Xerox somebody a copy. Get the book. All right, you know how we do sometimes. We Xerox it. Well,
Amen.
make me a copy of the book, just like we used to burn DVD. Burn me a copy. No, buy the book. Support our own. All right. God bless you. Stay tuned for Humanities in the Headlines right here on IntellectualRadio.com. See you next week.
What will you say?